just about to go live. So when we're ready. Good evening, members. Good evening, officers. Good evening, members of the public that have tuned in. Welcome to the Planning Applications Committee of the 7th of April. There are no outsiders, we will not have fire, so we'll deal then with apologies, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I've received apologies from Councillor Charlotte Morley.
Did I see Councillor Betton is not present, but on the screen?
Sorry,
Yes.
that is correct, yes, Chairman.
Is that it? We seem to be short somewhere as well. Just Councillor Betton, is it? Okay, thank you very much. Members, are you happy I signed the minutes of the last meeting? Thank you.
Sorry, press the wrong button. Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just like to point out that on page, I had this open already. Yeah. Oh yeah, page 4 of the minutes. It looks as though I voted in favour of my application.
That's a very fair point, Councillor Alloway. We took it as deemed. But thank you, and the minutes will be amended accordingly. But thank you. I will then sign them on the premise that that will be altered. Thank you. Thank you for that. Apologies we will deal with on each item, which takes us through to the first item on page 11 of the agenda, Princess Royal Barracks at Deep Cut. And on my notes, I've written apologies. It should have been declarations. Are there any declarations in respect to this item? No. Thank you. Mrs. Bishop, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This application relates to a surplus piece of land, which you can't quite see. This is the Princess Royal Barracks, and this is the area that is subject to the hybrid permission. We're talking about the headquarters building, which is up here. And we'll see it in a bit more detail at the moment. In this area here, and in this area here, this is where Bovis Vistry are currently building phase 2A, and this is the headquarters building. This is the view of the site. So I'm on Newfoundland Road. The headquarters building is to my right. The Vistry parcel is to my left. And we're talking about this strip of land here. It was left over when the Vistry parcel was sold, and it doesn't form part of the headquarters building as it stands. These are just views looking from Mindenhurst Road, looking north. So this is from the new road. So we're looking up the hill. So this is the headquarters building. This is the boundary at the moment with Vistry, and obviously this is going to change as a result of this proposal. And again, this is looking towards Vistry. So they're building their houses over here. You can see we've got trees on this area of land. And again, this is just looking across to the east. This is the ridge within the headquarters building site. And the proposal relates to this strip of land here. So this is the area that was left over when the Vistry parcel was sold, and it's outside of the headquarters building. And the proposal is to bring it into the curtilage of the headquarters building, which has full permission for 15 apartments, so that it will become ancillary amenity land, primarily to form the landscape setting and also to act as a wildlife corridor for the headquarters building here. There is an update on the update sheet. Surrey Wildlife Trust do not raise an objection to the submitted ecological and management plan, subject to confirmation that the work set out in the plan are implemented, and that will be secured by new condition 2. And we're just amending condition 1, just so that both conditions are consistent in the reference to the management plan. And also, just by way of update, there is a non-material application for the headquarters building over here, just to tweak some changes to the full permission it was granted back in 2014. The recommendation is to grant members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just as a point, I have been in discussion with Mrs. Bishop and the other officers, and we will get an updated plan produced showing the development as it on our papers to show the development as it proceeds. Members, are there any comments in relation to this item?
I'd like to...
Councillor Deitch, I'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
No, Councillor Deitch.
Thank you. Only to say very briefly that I don't have any problems with this whatsoever. I hope members won't have any problems with it either. We need to get these applications through and get Mindenhurst back on track. And I would just like to take this opportunity to thank Sarita Bishop and the team for all their hard work, because I know how much grief they get from us ward members and everything on this. It's an important strategic development. Obviously, we all want to get it right, so I just wanted to thank everybody for their hard work.
Thank you, Councillor Deitch. No other comments. We have an officer recommendation. Can I have a proposer and a seconder, please? Councillor White and Councillor Barnett, all those in agreement? That is unanimous, I believe. Thank you, members. Thank you, Mrs. Bishop. On to the second item on page 23. Yep, page 23. 26 Haining Gardens, Mitchett. Are there any declarations in respect to this item? No. And Ms. Kimber, please.
Cool, thank you. So this application has been called to the Planning Committee at the request of Councillor Deitch due to the impact of the development on the residential amenities of neighbouring properties. The site location plan shows the application site outlined in red at the end of the cul-de-sac, and the closest neighbouring property is attached to the southern side. It is 27 Haining Gardens. So the proposed floor plans are shown in blue. Well, the walls proposed are shown in blue. And the development includes the erection of a single-storey rear extension with a modest depth of 1.6 metres, the partial conversion of the existing garage space with the retention of secure bike store to the front, and the erection of a first floor extension over the footprint of the existing garage. Following a comment received as part of the neighbour notification, the rear elevation of the existing conservatory to the rear of the neighbouring property has been amended to show the accurate squared off design. So this corner here. So from the front elevation, the first floor element of the development will be visible from the public realm, although it will be set behind the principal elevation and will be set at a lower level than the existing ridgeline. The existing garage door will be retained, so there's no alteration at ground floor level to the front. The single-storey rear extension will not have a significant impact on the street scene or the character of the area, as it will be screened by the existing dwelling. The elevation here in the bottom right shows the proposed development as viewed from the south. So the single-storey rear extension will be sited 0.3 metres from the boundary shared at number 27, and the first floor extension will be sited 5 metres from the same shared boundary. Due to these distances, the proposed development will not result in an adverse overbearing impact on the occupiers of number 27. There are no windows proposed to the southern side elevations, and it is recommended that a condition be attached to the decision that prohibits the installation of any future windows going in that southern side. And the single-storey rear that's closest to the neighbouring property won't project beyond the rear elevation of the neighbour's conservatory. And in addition, the application site is due north of number 27, so there'll be no adverse overshadowing impacts. So starting in the top left, you've got the application site and the attached number 27. The development that will be over the garage is round the corner. It's going to be screened, so it's going to have very limited impact on the street scene. Another point received as part of the neighbour notification was the erection of an outbuilding without planning permission. So this is that outbuilding, and it forms no part of this application. And the images along the bottom show where the single-storey infill extension will go, and then the first floor garage will be built, the first floor extension will be built over the top of the existing garage. And the application is recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Councillor Deitch, you called this one in. Can you explain to the committee why you did that, please?
Of course, thank you, Chairman. So, members, I called this in this application because one of the neighbours to the property in question had concerns about residential amenity issues. Now, I fully accept that the officer's recommendation is for approval, and having looked at the application, I can't find any material reasons for refusal. I want to point out that I believe that residents should be able to improve their homes. So in principle, I do not personally have any issues with the proposal. However, like all good ward members, I want to make sure that my constituent, the neighbour, feels as though concerns are taken seriously and given the best possible consideration by the decision makers, which of course is you this evening. I would also ask that the applicant not take any concerns expressed personally. I think everyone here this evening will want to arrive at the right decision. Therefore, members, my only request to you is to view this, if you are representing one of your own constituents, of course with an open mind, but make sure you use your best experience to spot anything the officers and indeed I might have missed. The main issues presented to me by the neighbour are loss of light/sunlight and the scale and dominance impact. My understanding is that the applicant historically erected an outbuilding under permitted development rights. According to the neighbour, that building diminished the sunlight on their property. I have to concede that looking at the images the neighbour has sent me and the ones that I've seen here with the officer's presentation, I can't personally see how that is the case. The neighbour feels that the extension will remove a significant amount of light and sunlight to their property, along with the single-storey lean-to, which the neighbour believes will come out approximately halfway down the length of their conservatory. The neighbour believes this is falsely represented on the plans for the extension. Perhaps committee members might try to get to the bottom of this with officers this evening, at the very least to offer some reassurance to the neighbour. My constituent believes that the scale and dominance with the combination of the proposed extension and the existing structure will dominate the view from the rear of their property. Again, I would ask the committee to get clarification in terms of the policy to ensure it is within acceptable parameters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Deitch. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Chair. I have to say I did look at this fairly closely, and the officers were able to give clarification. The extension is actually to the north of the other dwelling. So I feel very strongly that people have a right to light living in an older property. That sort of right to light, I know, is slightly different, and I know the laws around it have changed and the guidance around it have changed. But actually in this case, given that it is north of the other dwelling, I don't see how it could impact the light terribly. So for that reason, I will be supporting the officer's recommendation. But I do assure you, Councillor Deitch, it is something that has been looked at.
I've got two comments, just catch up on the... I would like to see a condition that the bike store remains as that and is not converted into habitable accommodation. and also that there should be no further development under permitted rights.
Yeah, it's reasonable to impose both those conditions. If we could agree to precise wording with the chairman and vice chairman in that respect.
And ward members. Yes. Are there any other comments? If not, can I have a proposer and a seconder for the recommendation as amended? Councillor Perry, Councillor Wheeler, all those in agreement? That, I think, is unanimous again. Thank you, members.
Thank you all. Good night.
All right, Councillor Deege. On to item number 3 on page 35, the monitoring report. So this is for noting. We will deal only with the public section of this paper, which Mr. van der Hoven is going to take us through. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. As we have previously reported, the last year and a half has seen the planning enforcement team go through a significant review of its procedures and backlog of investigations. This review has produced several areas that the team needed to focus on, such as the enforcement plan, the enforcement register that contains all of the council's enforcement breach of condition and stop notices currently in existence, its usage of IT resources that included uniform and enterprise, and the existing backlog of investigations. Significant progress on all of these elements had been made. I would like to thank both management, our IT department, and the corporate enforcement team for their input in all of these reviews and reconfigurations, and their support for change for the better. There is still a lot of work to be done, which we will be prioritizing. As an update, I would like to advise that our planning enforcement contractor, Simon Chowcraft, has significantly reduced his hours, and as a consequence, we have now employed Olafian Taiwu, also better known as Ola. She's further assisting us with dealing with the ongoing highest priority investigations that remain outstanding. I would like to welcome her to the team. Furthermore, having assisted with the enforcement backlog since joining the team in September, I'm pleased to confirm that Bex Green has now started her role as the Council's Planning Enforcement / Compliance Officer. Now, with regard to the report in front of members, starting on page 35, this report deals with the period of 1st of January 2022 until 24th of March 2022. The following details, therefore, are to be noted. We received 48 new referrals during this period. 8 cases were closed as no breach identified. 8 were resolved without the need for further action. 3 cases were closed as not expedient to pursue. We issued 3 formal notices. 2 retrospective applications were received due to the investigations, and 26 cases remaining ongoing. The 3 not expedient investigations are as follows. The first investigation, the alleged breach of planning control, the unauthorized operational development in the form of 3 solar panels on a flat roof. The reason for closure of the investigation is that the panels are not readily visible from the general public, as the large pitched roof on the front elevation is obscuring them. They are not considered to be overbearing to the neighboring property and not considered to cause any detrimental harm to the overall character of the host dwelling, and noting their particular design and purpose, that of solar panels. The second investigation, the alleged breach is the unauthorized material change of use of the outbuilding. The reason for closure of this investigation is that the owner showed evidence during the site investigation that the outbuilding had been used for residential purposes for more than 4 years, that including the existing facilities. As a consequence, the material change of use has become lawful over the requisite 4-year period as set out within Section 171B of the Town and Country Planning Act, as amended. Investigation 3, the alleged breach of planning control is the breach of a condition. The wording of the condition, the marquee hereby permitted shall be closed by 11 p.m. each day. The reason for closure is that the investigation has already been dealt with by other council departments due to the antisocial nature of the number of complaints received. Now, with regard to the 3 notices issued, can I please ask members to turn to page 36 to 38 of the agenda? I've set out on these pages the relevant information for these 3 notices that were issued. The Planning Inspectorate has advised us for one of the investigations, the investigation at land on the southeast of 79 Guildford Road, Bagshot, that they've received a valid appeal on grounds A, C, D, F, and G. To assist members, ground A is to request planning permission being granted for what is alleged in the enforcement notice. This is similar to the assessment is similar to a retrospective planning application being determined. Ground C challenges that either all or certain aspects of the allegation do not constitute a breach of planning control. Ground D challenges that either all or certain aspects of the allegation have become lawful in planning terms, so the 4- and 10-year rule. Ground F challenges the steps that are required to be taken, and basically requesting either that they be amended to be less onerous or to be removed altogether. And ground G, lastly, challenges the period given by the notice, and in this instance, that the period given is too short. It is important to note that where an appeal has been made, then an enforcement notice will only take effect after the appeal has been determined and the inspector upheld that enforcement notice. So we will be picking up this investigation after the appeal has been determined. With regard to enterprise and the graphs to be included in future reports, members will note that we have only included 2 graphs in the current report, and these not being representative of enterprise. This is due to the ongoing data cleansing exercises of Uniform that we've been undertaking. As we have been updating Uniform, it transpired that our graphs were becoming too skewed to be meaningful for members at this moment in time. However, we are making progress on this and should have them finalized by the next quarter. I apologize on behalf of the team for the delay in delivering on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. As I say, that is an informative information item, but has anybody got any pressing points they wish to raise here, or even better, speak with the officers? But Councillor White, I'm looking at you.
I'm on the other side tonight, right. I would just like to say thank you very much to the enforcement team for issues that have been raised in Bagshot in the last month or so, and the action that's been taken and the prompt action that's been taken. I can't thank them enough for the work that's been done. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor White. Councillor Tapper?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd just like to thank the enforcement officer in respect of the investigation of the apparently unsuitable solar panels that were installed, and for taking a entirely reasonable and pragmatic view of the appropriateness of the objection, and allowing the solar panels to remain in place. As we all know, Surrey Heath did declare a climate emergency, and within the climate emergency plan, we state quite clearly that we should be encouraging our residents to take up renewable energy generation wherever and whenever they can. And the slight infringement, if you like, of the strict rules applied in the case of solar panels erected on the roof were not sufficient to prevent the resident in contributing their bit to helping fight climate change. So once again, thank you very much indeed for taking a very reasonable view on this particular issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tapper. If there's nobody else, I will say thank you to Mr. van der Hoeven. Members of the public, Members, that is the end of the public part of the meeting. We will be going into closed session, as in the next part we will be dealing with matters which may or may not involve legal action. And to that end, in accordance with section 100A bracket 4 of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended, the press and public are excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the ground that they involve likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act as set out below, and that is agenda item 6, paragraphs 1 to 3. I take it that is agreed, member.